Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of FitFam. As always, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hillary.
And this is Doug, the formulator.
And so we're real excited tonight. We are going to be talking about,
Yes,
guess,
muscle again.
muscle, but from a different angle. We're going to really focus on youth, focus on some of the problems that are there, try to make it real for everyone as parents and as children of how serious the need to build muscle is and some ways to do it. But also, as a little intro, I want to thank our friends from Argentina to give us our little Douglas D. Grant, the formulator, and Hillary, Miss Natural Olympia cups. Thank you.
Keeping me from not drinking out of plastic, so I appreciate that.
Oh,
Also, future, we have now the glass Voss.
that's true.
So we're done with
Take it up a
plastics.
notch.
Doing
All right.
better.
So there was a lot of things that spurred this episode, but just starting off, why don't we talk a little bit about some statistics too as to why we need to come up with programs for the youth to be healthier, to accomplish what they're wanting, because they're going to do what they want. We know kids are kids, right? Especially teenagers. But we as adults and parents need to realize where the responsibility is, maybe. But let's look at some of the statistics. So, children right now in America, what's the obesity rate? Where are we
Yeah,
at?
1 in 5 adolescents is obese.
That's nuts.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So 20%, and I know the number is increasing. And you think, well, where does that come from? Well, 1 in 3 adults are obese in America. And so 1 in 3 adults, and now that's transferring at a very quick rate to children because, we say it all the time. We've learned as parents, we wish our kids did what we say. And sometimes they do, but more often than not, they do what we do.
Right. Yeah. I think you're making one of the best points is that they're going to mimic what they see, and they see us as adults consuming processed food, especially processed food, and a lack of exercise. And so I think those two things, along with, the pressures that, kids face these days that were never an issue when we were young, right?
Absolutely.
The social media and, the far-reaching communities that you can be a part of, which on one hand can be an amazing benefit, but on the other can be really crippling for a child. So, yeah, I think that's
Yeah, well, I mean, social media and that can be, networking wise to get in front of people and listen to people that is uplifting, but like you said, can be the opposite. So we're not here to, go against all social media and the way things are now. We're just saying that it's easier access to good and bad, and we have to
right.
really help our children with that. And one of the things that we've talked a little bit about before, but the obesity epidemic is huge. Then what do we do about it? And I think many times, especially as teenagers, and it might be a little bit more for the boys, but I think that as teenagers, one of the things that come up is, well, I want to, build big muscle and I want to create all these things. And then they have that access that you're talking about to social media and they see all these big people with muscles and they're like, I want that. And they realize as they start going down that road, doesn't take long to realize that most of them are taking steroids.
Right. So then that's an easy path for them to go, not easy, but it is an available path for them to go down. And I think a lot of parents would be surprised at how easy it is for kids to get steroids nowadays. So even in your community, it's easy. So it's easy to purchase if they were going to try to do it online. And yet it's easy because there's plenty of people to purchase in communities.
And I know there's parents out there say, well, not my community. We live in this area where we don't have that, or we're in a small area, or my kids don't hang around those people at school if you're in big cities, whatever it might be. And I'd like to kind of call you out a little bit on being naive. The fact is that we've seen in our small community of a few thousand people into the larger communities, to the suburbs, it is accessible as easy as just going to where a group of kids are, whether it be a school, whether it be a gym, whether it be a sporting event, and asking a few questions, and the steroids are there and they're available. And so just like other drugs, and we need to be
Yeah.
aware of that. And so what we're talking about is our children, what are we doing to help them? And what example are we setting? And I think Hillary before we dive deep into the muscle things, we're going to talk about a program for kids to do instead of going on steroids. But just the whole fact that the world's changed so much, if we can just start living in our homes a non-processed food lifestyle, that in itself, if nothing else, will make probably the biggest influence and biggest change for our children, don't you
Yeah,
think?
absolutely. And like Doug said, I think this episode itself is going to be geared more towards teenage boys because typically, and not that a girl couldn't take advantage of this program, because I know I have
Many have.
throughout my career. But it is targeted more towards boys because boys are typically looking to put on mass size when we're talking about muscle mass. And it wouldn't be the worst program for a lot of girls to do, to just, understand what it takes to gain muscle.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so targeted more towards the boys and age of boys.
I think at puberty, and that's always the biggest question I get, is when is
Right.
it time? And bottom line is to have hair under their arms. That's, they could do it. When your child is going through puberty, especially boys, then they could do a program like this. And the history of what we're going to talk about right now goes way back with some of the top strength coaches in the world that helped us put this program together years ago.
Yeah, big thanks to Mike Brungart and Bill Ferran, two of the greatest strength coaches to ever work in the NBA.
Absolutely.
So our family, of course, has taken advantage of this program. Each of our children actually at different phases, you have, I have, just to build deep tissued muscle.
Absolutely. And I think we just wanted to point out that this is something that we not only had researched for years and came out with the best minds in the world, exercise physiology, but as Hillary said, our family has lived it. And we worked hard to, when we go on trips and things, go to those places that they can get a good fitness influence, but also explain the difference between natural and people that take steroids. We like going to Gold's Gym in Venice. We like going to different things.
Yeah.
But the key is that education.
Yeah, and this program, what's really great about this program is that it's all inclusive. So it doesn't just talk about training. It talks about how you train, the way to train to gain mass, and then also a diet program to support the muscle mass that you're trying to put on, because we all know that if we're not eating correctly, then there's no way we're going to put on the size if that's the goal.
Absolutely. And so we're using our acronym still: fitness, having the mindset part, the nutrition, exercise, and the supplementation. Let's jump into it. The importance of muscle and the muscles in the body.
Okay, so this is cool. Every human body has 650 muscles.
Yeah, that's a lot of muscles, and there's 187 joints to support the muscles. There's an origin and insertion of each muscle. And the importance there is there's so many muscles in the body that it's important to be able to keep them healthy. The muscles we know now actually help produce insulin, and they're like an insulin receptor, I don't want to say magnet, but like machine that helps keep the body and the insulin sensitivity under control. We didn't know that before. Muscles help with the serotonin and dopamine in the brain. There's so much to it. So we want to take care of those 650 muscles. And for those that are wanting to build them, if they go about it with steroids, you're actually changing the frequency and the signals sent from the muscles, and which is so important that we know they're not just this dense muscle. You think of, like a muscle head, like it's just muscle, nothing there. No, they're highly complex chemical machines. And so we don't want to create synthetic steroid filled versions of them. We want to be able to keep it clean so they can act in compliance with the cells of the body, just for mental health too.
Yeah, no, I love the concept of keeping it clean. I like the concept of clean muscle mass, and that's what we are all about building: clean muscle mass that's supported through nutrition and nutrients.
That's a big factor.
Yeah.
We like to keep them strong. And so a lot of programs out there for people that are natural. We're in the natural world really deep, and it bugs me sometimes. A lot of people will say, well, steroids really don't work anyways, that type of thing. No, steroids work. Let's be real about it. There's studies out there that show very specifically that steroids work, but what they work by meaning that they help people build muscle at the same amount of work you do without taking them, but they also work at creating a huge risk factor, anytime you take a drug, that you have a side effect. And the side effects, we've been doing this for a long, long time, and we have never met one person And we've met hundreds, if not thousands, of people that have taken steroids, whether it's just in high school, they did a little something, or they were on them for a long time. They didn't have side effects that affected them the rest of their
The
life.
rest of their lives. And, it also depends on the duration that you have taken steroids. If you've taken them for a long period of time, obviously the detriment is going to be greater. If for just a short time, than less. But even, personal experience, our son has shared his story, in the natural world about trying steroids and what it did to him. And let's get rid of the problems that it puts on your joints and the puffiness that you experience, and go into the mental side of it, because he had to overcome some serious demons, just the mental toll that it took on him.
And we met so many anxiety, and we met so many people that has been the biggest factor. The increased depression, the increased anxiety that comes from taking the steroids while they're on them, and then when they're off, what it does to them. And so, can people build more muscle? They can if they take steroids at a higher level, which most people do, versus just
which most people who take steroids do.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a big problem, because it's one of those, if a little is good, a lot's better. And that's really where the problem comes in at. There is no good, safe level of steroids, but most of the studies show that very few people take low dose anyways, that they jump because they're a little better. Little is better, more. Little's good, but more is better. And I think that's where the research comes in. And we did a special study we'll talk about through ASU, where we're able to build as much muscle naturally as people on the basic levels of testosterone. But let's be real. People that inject a tremendous amount of testosterone, or the other steroids like trenbolone, and there's just different names for different levels of steroids and their anabolic factor in the body, that they can create, immense amounts of anabolism, so the body can build that muscle, but it comes at that great cost. So that's really the key we want to point, is they do work, but we want to make sure that we help the body anabolically, naturally, and we can do that. That's kind of the key to this today. It's called Mass Maffia. It's a word name that the voice came up with a program. But the Mass Maffia program is a complete program that we're going to offer to you at the end for free, that you can download and give to your children and give to the schools, so that they can build muscle naturally. And we're talking large amounts. Ranges are huge that people have had, that we personally trained on this program.
Yeah, and starting with, kids or boys that were, 14 up to, in their 40s, 50s. So, this is a wide-ranging program that can reach a lot of people. But I think it's interesting that you just kind of skirted over the fact that you have a patent on the Muscle RX and how amazing that product is.
Well, I think that we'll bring it up in the supplementation part, but what Hillary's talking about is true, that the key is to take a natural program and find ways to enhance it with making sure the right nutrients come in at the right time, they're the right form, so that you can keep the body anabolic, because that's what steroids do, keep the body in a state of muscle growth. And we've been able to do that with the specific nutrients. We have the patents on them. We have the great strength coaches that helped us develop the program. And that's really the key, is if you have the right system, you can compete against all these other factors. And we use the word anabolic a lot. Should we explain anabolic, catabolic a little bit?
Let's go. So anabolic, state of muscle growth, right? And then catabolic. You explain catabolic because you want to do your cannibalism thing, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, you go into catabolic.
Hey,
I do not love this analogy.
But she doesn't forget it, and we won't either. So anabolism, anabolic, it's a state of muscle growth. Anabolic steroids. You want to be anabolic, but without steroids, right? So anabolic, state of muscle growth. Catabolic is a state of muscle depletion, or the body's eating itself.
Here we go.
And so the way to remember it is that if we chopped up Hillary right now, put her in a frying pan and ate her, we'd be called cannibals, right? Cannibalism. But if her body eats itself, it's catabolism. So you don't want catabolism. You don't want your body eating itself. Anabolism, catabolism. Get it? So they'll never forget.
You say that every time we talk about it? Every time. It's just not my favorite thing. But
yeah, but anyway. You never forget.
Okay.
So here's, we're going to get right into the program in a minute, but let's do one more thing on steroids, because as parents, and if you're having your children listen to this, or even 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, Look, the research is very clear. This whole thing that steroids isn't bad for you, and like, oh, I've seen people take steroids and it hasn't affected them and they've gotten older. Here's a for sure thing. The for sure thing is this: your left ventricle in your heart will wear out faster and it becomes thinner and the muscles around it become stronger.
And why is that? Like, I think sometimes when we're talking about muscles, we forget about our old ticker.
One of the best muscles there is. The heart's a
So,
muscle.
yeah.
But that little valve, especially the left ventricle, becomes weaker or gets too much pressure. And over time, it'll get you. And that's why Arnold Schwarzenegger had his third surgery. That's why he has a pacemaker today, because of that specific thing. And so we know that for a fact,
For a
right?
fact.
That's an absolute side effect. We know that it reduces sperm count. So especially these kids that are wanting to have children again later, it's reducing that ability to.
Yeah. And then even leads into infertility.
Absolutely, full out. It shrinks the testicles, which I don't know why guys would want that in the first place.
Right. Erectile dysfunction, that is not something a lot of men want to deal with.
No, and they think it's actually going to do the opposite of that.
Right.
Breast development is a huge one. It's called gynomastia.
Yeah, I mean,
boobs.
yeah, well, and gynomastia has a very specific look. Most of us that have been in the natural world long enough, honestly, one of the dead giveaways for somebody that's been on steroids that hasn't had surgery to fix gynomastia, it's pretty apparent.
Yeah, it's where
literally
the nipple itself is kind of hanging.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
And so it's obvious. So yeah, it's real easy to pick out. One of the big ones too with any type of steroids is prostate cancer for men, boys. The risk factor goes up dramatically when you're on steroids, which is just crazy because one in 5 men are going to end up with prostate problems, if not prostate cancer, in their lifetime. Like, that's a huge number without adding the risk, right? So you can have a perfectly healthy person and not taking steroids and lived a good, clean life, and there's still a pretty high chance, right, over 20%, that they're going to have some type of prostate issues or prostate cancer. Why increase that risk?
Such a huge point. And then this one is kind of a big one. I think when parents are maybe, and have the discussion with your children, have the discussion with your boys. And it doesn't mean, I mean, look, we've dealt with it with our kids who know better, but the discussion, I don't know that we ever sat down and had this discussion, but talk to your kids about steroids and the, the side effects that come from it. And one of the things as a parent, when you're dealing with it, is acne. And the acne actually comes on, and it comes on heavy and hard. It's different than the acne that happens naturally with as you're going through puberty and that kind of thing. It is a intense acne that just starts to form. So
yeah, that's a big deal. One. Now we're gonna throw out a few names right now that, for those of you that are not in the bodybuilding world, won't know, but I promise you that if you have a 20 or 30-year-old and a lot of teenagers that follow, people that build muscle, they're going to be led to the OGs in the bodybuilding world, and these names come up, and they were some of the top bodybuilders in the world. A guy named Flex Wheeler, a guy named Dorian Yates that won the Olympia more times than Arnold. And there's even people that call themselves the steroid doctors, anabolic doc, things like that. All of these people just mentioned, Kali Muscle, right? A couple of these famous.
Kali Muscle would be a big one. I feel like he's newer age than some of these other ones.
Yeah, children, younger group will know him more. Well, all of these guys have been on massive amounts of steroids, and all of them have come out and saying it's absolutely, completely destroyed their life, and they go back, forget any amount of fame or anything that they got, that it wasn't even close to worth the damage. They can't enjoy life right now, and that's a whole thing.
Yeah, and I think actually, if you look back to even at Arnold Schwarzenegger, and how long ago, I don't know when it was, but he was like trying to speak out against steroids, at his it's the Arnold Classic. It's his big show, and he got booed off the stage. Basically, it wasn't the time. But even somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to create awareness around,
and that
steroids.
Was crazy. We were there in the audience at the Arnold Classic, his show, big bodybuilding event, and he says we've got to find a way to clean up the sport and get steroids out. And were there thousands of people in that. They boot them off stage.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was just absolutely nuts. So here's the last thing we're going to say, and then we're going to talk about the program. And this is that young steroid users. So if you have someone that's a teenager in their 20s that take steroids, have taken, some of the names you want to look out for, little blue pills called Dianabol, testosterone itself, the injections, things like that, Winstrol, Trembolone, all these things are steroids.
What's the popular one that now you can't even get it prescribed, I don't think? Anavar.
Anavar for women, right? And so the thing with all of these...
Well, I think even teenage boys will try Anavar, right?
Well, it's hard to get now, but usually they'll take Dianabol, but Anavar sometimes will do that because they're told it's not as bad for you. But here's what the research shows, and it's very clear that if you take steroids within 10 years, so they did the study on teenagers and 20-year-olds taking steroids, but this holds true for anyone. Within 10 years, your testosterone level will be so low that you won't be able to function without taking some other drugs that then give you other side effects. So it actually lowers your testosterone levels because now your body is not producing on its own. And that's one of the things, even with our older clients, that we work to get them off of TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, because anytime you take a drug like that, you basically committed for life for the most part. We've had some success of getting people off of it, but it's very serious of what it does to the body. So the bottom line is, you're saying for the rest of your life you're going to have these issues, and we really want to be able to take care of it. So jump in the program. And again, we're going to offer this program to everyone out there for free, but just download, and we'll put it in the show notes and also have it attached that you'll be able to look at it and understand you can accomplish a lot naturally, though.
Yeah, you can accomplish, massive amounts naturally. I think helping boys and teenagers understand that it's not just about how you're training in the gym. Although it is about how you're training, it's about your intensity and your ability to push through and to, push a lot of heavy weight. But it's so much about what you're going to do outside of the gym and how you're going to prepare. And I do love all of the mothers that help their sons in this, in this process, because it is something, if your child is showing interest in building muscle, it's something that they want. And to support them in that and do everything you can naturally to help them is just a benefit. And it will help them to stay the natural course as long as they possibly can.
And that was very powerful. That really resonated deep with me, because I thought back about all of the people that we've trained, and I'm, mainly the teenagers and stuff. The ones that have had the most success were the ones that whether they're mainly their mom, but their parents got involved and helped them to cook meals and to cook things so they could meet their calories and that. And it created a kind of a cool family experience at a time when a lot of times parents are having a hard time communicating with their youth. And we have found that with ours too, through that time frame. Yeah. And so a lot of people will look at bodies and say, hey, are they natural or not? What can you look to say for sure they're natural? And say, what's possible? Because we have people say, well, you can't build muscle at all naturally, right? Like, you just can't see anyone with good sized muscle. And that's false. In fact, if you look at the IFBB Olympia stage, they have this thing called the Olympia Go, and they give away this trophy at the end. It's called the Sandow. And the Sandow was about, it's actually a sculpture of a guy named Eugene Sandow from the 1930s. Big muscles, just shredded, looking great. And the cool thing that I want to mention is, you see anyone before the 1940s that is big and muscly, and you see all these pictures, or even some of Romans and things like that, guess what? They didn't take steroids because they weren't invented until right at World War II in the 40s. So if you want to be sure that someone is natural, a couple ways to do it. One, if they're drug tested, like a really serious drug tested organization like the one Hillary competes in with IMBA, PMBA, or look at these pre-1940s pictures, and you can see it is very possible if you do things right. And just simply, the bottom line is that you can create a lot of muscle in a short amount of time, and the naysayers say that you can't, but we've seen it and proved it over and over again. 15 to 30 pounds of muscle people can add in 8 to 10 weeks if they follow every principle right.
Right, every principle. So, of course, we always go back to fitness. And so, when you're sitting down with your teenager and trying to help them decide or determine how much they're willing to invest, the focused, intense thought becomes really, really important. So, having them, helping them, having them have a goal picture of what they see themselves being able to do is ideal. So, sitting down and really trying to come up with the physique that they're trying to go for. And then, speaking to them about, okay, so, the best ways to do this, what are you going to do when things get hard, and coming up with a plan when they don't want to lift, when they don't want to eat the food that they want to eat, and helping them through that process. So focus, intense thought, then going into the nutrition. The nutrition is huge. And then...
Can I talk about focus, intense thought?
Yeah.
On the focus, intense thought, in the Mass Maffia program, there's data, and I'm kind of big on data, is you want to assessment. So make sure that you help your kids or whoever's doing this, or if you're a teenager or 20, 30-year-old doing this, make sure you follow the Mass Maffia program to take measurements, take the before pictures.
Huge.
I've had more people basically break down and cry. So I sure wish I'd have took those pictures, but I was embarrassed. But I really wish now I could show the before. And you get these measurements. You get your weight, your body fat, your each muscle size.
Go into this with your kids and do this process with them. It's they want their chest measured to see how much mass the chest is huge for boys and men. I don't know what it is about chest day, but everybody loves it. Sit down. And anyways, so that's actually really kind of a fun process to go through. And then it's even more fun as you help them to stick with their goals to watch the progress happen, not just through pictures, which are really, really valuable, but also watching that tape measure move as you go.
Yeah. And so here's what's really cool. And one thing that Hillary brought to the table that was just huge, a game changer, is, a dad having your boys grow up. I'm like, oh, I can't wait till they get to the day that, that they hit puberty and I can put them on this program to build muscle, make them jump fast or higher and run faster and, get stronger. And we had this program laid out that we had used, in the NBA and professional athletes and all these really, hardcore people that, dedicated their life to being able to do this. It's what they did, and went to put, our boys on it. And it failed because they just didn't want to do all of the measurements and the exacts of the foods and everything that was needed to do it, and learn about, counting macros and using all this stuff. And it failed. And what the main reason was because of the nutrition. And it was one of those things where it's like, what do they need? And once we talked about they need, 5,000 calories is kind of the baseline. And that's when Hillary kind of came up with that concept of, let's create these easy, simple.
Some simple recipes that have a lot of density to them and calories. Because if you're building muscle, you have to support it through macronutrients, and we are talking massive macronutrients. For most people, thinking about a 3,000 to 5,000 calorie diet is like, wait, what? But you have to remember that as teenage boys, they have access to so much testosterone anyways as they're going through puberty. And not just that, their metabolism typically is through the roof. Most of these boys, any boy that I know that's been on it, has been a multi-sport athlete. And so they are constantly putting their body under stress, and, with running and sweating and jumping and everything they do. And so having the calories to support not only how they're trying to function throughout the day, now we're not just talking about functioning throughout the day or the sport. Now we're talking about the amount of food that is necessary to put on muscle. This is different. This is a lot of calories.
Well, when we started this program way back, before Hillary was involved with it, we had a ton of success, but not at the level when these recipes were simplified. And basically it is like, look, here is what you need to do to get 1,000 calories. And you have these choices, for breakfast and lunch and dinner. And just think about it as this amount of food gets you 1,000 calories, and through the day we want to do it 5 times. And that was the shift, I think, that did it. And so
And so we're talking about things like mass muffins. I'm telling you, these muffins are delicious. Anytime we've made them for the book. And what's great about the muffins is that you can make them in bulk, and then that's something that they can consistently grab. That's easy. Most of this stuff can be made in bulk and then stuck in the refrigerator. You can have a meal prep Sunday and do it as a family.
burritos, they can freeze those.
Burritos can be frozen. Yeah, for sure. So, I will say anybody that I've made the mass muffins for outside of trying to put on weight has been like, those are the most delicious muffins. Can I have the recipe? And I'm just like, no, because
Too high
diet,
calorie.
how many calories are in it? But we did our best to try to create really dense foods that have a lot of calories that are also healthy. And some of them lean towards more fat because, well, as a teenager, you are able to utilize fat better, and you need more fat as you're trying to, develop that brain and everything. So, this is not a program for moms or dads that are trying to lose some belly weight.
No.
This is for the teenagers.
Family.
Listen, I've heard from so many moms in the past, oh, my kids are eating me out of house and home. Yeah, listen, they do, and they are. But wouldn't it be better to know that you're supplying them and supporting them in an attempt to gain muscle than to just eat empty calories that come from a bag of chips or, a thing of ice cream? So I love the concept. I know it can be difficult, and I know it can be hard, and I know it can be expensive to feed teenage boys. But if you buy in bulk, it will make a big difference. And we're talking about the oatmeals, the peanut butters, the chickens, the rice. We're talking about those things that you can buy.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the Mass Mafia program, we make it simple for them, give them simple recipes. And then also we have a meal tracker plan. Basically, they just through the day, they write down what they eat, but it's in categories. So they don't have to
that's not like they're trying to maneuver throughout the day. How much more protein do I need versus this? It's a meal plan.
It makes it easy. And then they're able to do it and still be accountable to you as parents. Or to each other, to have buddies. We recommend people doing the buddy program because that leads to exercise. And very few people anywhere can follow this exercise program by themselves. You need a buddy because there's days you're not going to feel like it. There's days you're going to be sore.
Yeah.
And you need someone to push you. Highly recommend that if you have a child or if a person's listening to this saying, hey, I want to gain 15 to 30 pounds of muscle naturally, I want to do it right, I want to do this program, you need a buddy. And you need someone that's going to do it with you, and you push each other. Because the exercise program, just to kind of lay it out, is it's very important that we tax as many muscles as possible in the shortest amount of time, and doing it way that keeps the body anabolic, where the body's just crying for nutrients to build those muscles. We do different types of movements. Very specific.
We do a lot of compound movements. Yeah, for sure, within this program.
What's a compound?
Where more than one joint is moving in the exercise. So a squat, for example.
Bench press, pull down, things like that. So, and then the order that they do the exercises, the speed that they do the exercises, the reps that they do the exercises.
So go through that a
very
little
specific. Okay. So for example, with the legs, we start off and we have them start to do what's called a 21 set, where they do 21 reps, as much weight as they can, they add to it. And most of them will throw up a few times when they first get going because their mitochondria, their body's not used to that, the oxygen consumption, and it takes a while for the body to get used to it. And then they'll switch from that and go to something where they pyramid, where they do, 8 reps and 6 reps and 4 reps. And so we constantly change. It's called periodization, but we do it in the right amount of time. We stick with something long enough to build the muscle, and then we change it up a bit.
And the program is how long? What's the duration of the program?
So 10 weeks.
Yeah. So plan on 10, 12 weeks for the program. Realize that there will be heavy lifting days, and there are vital and important rest days.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the things to talk about that one of the first things I tell people is you don't build muscle in the gym.
Yeah, I love that.
Right. We build muscle in the kitchen and while we sleep.
Yeah, the job in the gym is to break it down.
Absolutely. And I know that there's research out, well, do we really micro tears, the myofibrils and those types of things? Bottom line is we create this stress on the system, and the body needs that recovery to be able to do it. And so the Mass Maffia program is very specific workouts. What they do on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, what they do on Tuesday, Thursday, if they're wanting to increase speed and jump higher too, not just build muscle, and the stretching, which is critical. It's all laid out, and we recommend people to follow it letter of the law.
Letter
if they
of the
want to
law.
be able to gain that. And
Yeah.
then so we got the mindset, nutrition, exercise, and finally to the supplements.
Yeah, let's get
And
into it.
we just filmed today another video that will be fun to come out where we dumped a bunch of pudding, mainly on me today.
Not mainly, just only on Doug.
Yeah, but
I played that game one time. No more.
and in this whole dumping of protein, you know, or from the pudding, we at the end we've dumped 800 pounds of pudding on both of us, and you're like, why did we do that? Well, we're trying to explain the most important part of supplementation, which holds true with Mass Maffia just as much as it does for
Yeah,
us.
especially with Mass Maffia. So, you know, one of the biggest points that we make to people is you can eat all of the protein you want in the world, and unless you're breaking that protein down and delivering it to the muscles, it's not going to do you a bit of good, or you're just going to create gas and indigestion. So we always recommend digestion.
Absolutely.
Or digestimal.
Digestimal enzymes. And it was based, for this Mass Maffia, it was based on a study. And we were actually a part of one with some friends, Vic Rathi and that, not too long ago, where they duplicated this study. And what they showed in the study is if you take 50 grams of protein, they did it with a whey protein drink, right? The big protein drinks that we all have. And then they measured the amino acids in the blood after taking the 50 grams of the whey protein. They measured amino acid levels, and then they gave a group the same amount of protein, but added the digestamil plant enzymes to it. And when they did that, the amount of amino acids in the bloodstream tripled from the same amount of protein that was taken. That's crazy. Which tells you you're 3 times more anabolic, being able to build muscle and have protein available for all the things the body needs. And that was a huge study.
Amino acids, the building blocks for protein.
Yep, that's it. Good point to bring that up. And the thing that in my mind was already going there, instead of explaining that, thanks for helping with that, was in the study that was unexpected. Like, we expected that. We've been doing this long enough to know that's probably what was going to happen, and we just wanted to prove it. But what was unexpected is there's this measurement of inflammation in the body, right? It's called C-reactive protein. And they measured C-reactive protein with both groups. And the group that didn't take the enzymes had higher inflammation, C-reactive protein inflammation throughout the body, than the other group.
So cool.
So you deliver more amino acids.
You reduce inflammation.
You reduce inflammation, right? And you're basically taking the stress off the body, and all you're having to do is help digest it. So Mass Maffia, eating the right foods, but then digesting them. That's the key.
Yeah, that is the key. And just kind of going back to nutrition and the calories and recipes really quickly, I just want to hit something. If you have access to raw milk, because there are a lot of recipes in there that talk about milk because it's got a lot of calories. That's best.
By far.
The digestibility is just far better. So and nowadays you can purchase raw milk through health food stores. You know, a lot of people have their own cows.
Yeah. Here's a disclaimer on raw milk for everyone. Drink it if you can afford the calories. That's my disclaimer.
Yeah.
You like that one?
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
And so there are specific supplements besides digestive enzymes, because people say, what's the most important supplement to take to build muscle? Digestive enzymes, because you want to deliver more nutrients from the food, right?
Yeah.
They're always like, what? That isn't what I expected to get from you. What they expected was the normal nutrients that have been proven for decades, and they have to build it.
Yeah, your glutamine, your creatine, your branched chain amino acids.
Right. Magnesium, chromium.
Mm-hmm.
Glutamine is used to help the body recover. It doesn't get talked about much, but it's an extremely important, it's the most abundant amino acid in the body. It helps the body recover. If I got burned in my whole body in that, they would give me an infusion of glutamine if they knew what they were doing. If we were in another country, it would happen right away type thing. It stops the burn, but lets the body recover. It stops the burn from the workout and lets the body recover. And then the king is creatine. We're huge fans of creatine. Make sure it's absorbed, like acetized creatine or patented creatine. Branched chain amino acids, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. I don't think people give enough credit to like magnesium, which is critical. It's one of the absolute most important minerals in the body for muscle. And then there's also one important for blood sugar too that everybody's talked about, chromium. Yeah. And so that's really great, because if you can balance chromium you lose body fat, and I think that's known now because of a lot of the peptides out there today with semaglutide and that, trisepatide, that their job is to help with blood sugar, and then so people are losing a lot of weight. Well, chromium is one of the natural minerals that helps to balance the blood sugar in the body, but it also helps keep you anabolic. It helps you keep your body's ability to build muscle, which in turn, then you're going to burn more fat because the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn.
You're so smart.
You're so smart. So if you're going to Google something, Google this. Google five.
I was going to do it with you.
Oh, I like it. Okay, ready? Start again. 5.
Just go ahead.
888.
553.
So 5888.
553.
And you put that and write patent. So patent and put that number in there, and it'll pull up our patent. And the patent will show that we're able to create a compound combining all those in very specific types. The forms are critical, not just any type of creatine or glutamine in that. And within that, through a study at issue, we're able to build as much muscle, in fact, a little bit more than the bottom level of testosterone, so steroids. And so it was really, really cool to do that. And that's what Hillary mentioning at first. And so there are things that you want to do to take advantage of that are just the key factor to take you over, to be able to gain that muscle. And I think many people don't do that. They don't pay as much attention because they see people on steroids that don't pay as much attention, that are killing their body. But if you actually give the attention to detail of your nutrition, of your exercise, and the supplements, you're able to accomplish.
Yeah, and I think as parents, if you're going to, do this plan and this program or allow your children to do it and be a part of it with them, I think stressing the importance of what makes this program so unique and so powerful and so proven is the totality of the program. And so if they're willing to put in the time in the gym, they must be willing to put in the time in the kitchen, and they must be willing to put the time into rest. It's everything compounded that makes the biggest difference in anybody that's done it. Anybody that's done this program perfectly has put on perfect muscle. It is a no fail situation.
Absolutely. 15 to 30 pounds for sure. And so
that's a lot of muscle.
That's a lot of muscle. And I get so many naysayers for 20 something years now. That's impossible. Do the program. The body is capable of phenomenal things if it is trained right and fed right.
Yeah. And if you're not putting on muscle, you're not eating enough calories.
Boom.
Period.
And, why would we want and encourage our children to build muscle? Kind of, we're wrapping up. Look, anything we can do to create a better lifestyle than what's out there right now that's leading to this childhood obesity epidemic that already is an adult epidemic is get your minds on nutrition, on fitness.
Listen, exercise is vital. Exercise is vital as you are younger, as you're growing, as you're older, as you age, as you're, exercise is vital. It should be a part of your life from the moment that you know how to move until the moment they put you in the grave.
Absolutely.
It should absolutely be a part. And it's not just a massive part of your life. Muscle, it shouldn't be just a massive part of your life because you want to look, because of aesthetics. It is so much more than that. Working out will create a better mindset, clearer thinking. It will create less depression, less anxiety. It creates unity. It gives you a passion. It gives you drive. It creates discipline in every other aspect of your life.
Absolutely. And, it has been the common denominator in our family. We have Marley that lives in Virginia that's out for a few days. And today we worked out together. And it was just like, man, what a beautiful moment because he grew up that way. And we were able to even connect again, in ways that it's hard to explain to do any other way. And so what Hillary's saying is make fitness a part of your family. We talked about our kids at 2 and 3 years old. It was, prayers and push-ups.
Prayers and push-ups.
And they do that every night. That fitness is a part of it. And as far as building muscle, that's one of the reasons. Just, hey, have them start doing the opposite of where the world's going for the obesity factor and all those. But also, I think that it's important to look at really respecting the body. And I love what Socrates said about the human body, right?
Yeah. You want me to read that?
Yeah.
Okay. No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable.
So why not push it to see it's possible,
Yeah.
right, for mankind, men or women? And I think that was really cool. So the Mass Mafia program is available to everyone so that people can take it and do the nutrition, do the exercise. They could use other people's supplements if they want. They don't want to use the patented ones. The point is we want to be able to provide systems. We have our app, the 63 for Me app, to help people with healthy habits. We have the Mass Mafia program to build muscle. We have fasting programs for people to fast. And they can take these programs and just utilize them in their life without having to purchase anything from us, because we're really wanting to make the point that it's about following healthier habits, and we want to provide these programs to the world to do. And if you take advantage of them and utilize some of the nutrients we make in that to get better results, great. But we want you to know the true meaning behind this is to provide systems to overcome the epidemics we have today, and that is of obesity, of too little muscle, of not focusing on whole foods and the holistic approach. The processed food epidemic is so huge. It's taking healthy people that are great people, that they feel they're following the right thing, and they're slowly taking them down this road to the day they're like, crap, I didn't realize I'd gone down this road so far, processed foods and the chemicals and how bad they are, because it's just a slippery slope that just, gradually takes you there.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
All right. Mass Mafia, build the muscle naturally. As always, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hillary.
This is Doug the Formulator.
Keep chewing.